I don't agree with Candace Owens. I have studied up on it and looked at some of the things, and I want to summarize it, what I can here. Just to summarize it, I don't agree with her on Israel. Look, you want some videos I've seen. She wants to accuse Trump of killing all these children in Gaza, apparently, and Israel doing the same thing. They're trying to call it genocide, but who are the genocidal maniacs? Literally, the terrorist groups are genocidal maniacs. Who has who respects children? Who stopped the slaughtering of children in America? Who stopped Roe versus Wade? Donald Trump. Who supports the people she's teaming with are supportive of abortion. The ones who are calling Trump, they're acting like they're killing children. I'm going to call genocidal maniacs, which is, it's not just terrorist groups, but Muslims put their children on the front line when they had a chance to evacuate. So, but it's mostly the terrorist group Hamas. But you got to remember, the Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl to himself. And so they think they have, and they want to kill their beliefs. The Quran, if you're really following the Quran properly, it does tell them to kill all infidels. And so they don't respect children from that standpoint. They are the ones that put their children in harm's way in the front line. They're the ones that killed innocent children in the park in Israel. And Candace has fallen for that, trying to act like we're the ones doing it. And I don't know where she's going with all this. I'm not going to say that there's some things she's not maybe correct about, but in the war and in chaos, there's some things that's unavoidable when the enemy, the real attackers, which is Hamas, it's ISIS, it's all these groups that come from Islamic nations. They attacked all these people at the park, and they've done this at marathons in New York and in 911 and the Twin Towers. They didn't care if there were children there. They attacked children and kidnapped children at the park in Israel on October 7th, a couple of years ago. I've lost track of time, 2 or 3 years ago. They kidnapped children, and these were civilians, just at a party at a park, some kind of party. And it was a big event at the park, though. If we don't take them on and root out them continuing to attack Israel, Israel is surrounded by threats of attack on a regular basis. And to act like them fighting back to protect themselves is an assault on the children there when they gave them plenty of time to evacuate. Biden made sure everybody knew there was plenty of time to evacuate. They could have evacuated. To me, I'm sure there are plenty of them who are purposely putting their children out front or in different places just so they can frame the United States the way Candace Owens is, and frame Israel the way Candace Owens is, that I've heard. She's falling for that frame. And she could be, because she's paranoid, being a family woman now, she could be paranoid about it and falling for that okie doke. But I don't hear her talking about Jesus or believing in Jesus. She may have converted. She may believe in Islam, for all I know. I don't know. That's just a possibility. It's not a defamation. It's you want to call it defamation, you can. It's not. You can't define that. That's a speculation. But she doesn't. She's siding with everybody against Israel, those who want to kill Israel, and acting like it's the other way around. It's not the other way around. They're always attacking Israel. They're always trying to attack us. If you go in our inner cities in America, you got Muslims trying to threaten you over freedom of speech. So I don't know what she's talking about. This is an older video I saw recently, but I don't know what she's talking about. It was obviously older because she's lost some weight, and on this video she had some weight on her, the one I just saw, where she's talking about some of this. So I didn't know she was doing this because I haven't been caught up on politics in a little while, and I'm a person who follows them closely, but haven't had time recently. And so until now, and so I've caught up on this and I've studied it, and I made a video 2 days ago thinking I like Candace or whatever. I trust that she knows some stuff we don't know. But I'm starting to realize it's like the liberals, she's siding with the liberals in Israel, it seems like a little bit. I'm not going to say in full. And she pretended, at this point I'm saying, it seems almost like she pretended to oppose the liberal agenda here in America. And I don't know what her purpose is, or if she changed, or if she's just smart and knows how to use the gift of gab for media's sake. I thought she had some pretty good intentions. I don't know what her deal is. So she's acting like she's opposing bad on the right and the left. She doesn't care which one. She's getting in with Bill O'Reilly, and I don't know if she's trying to team with a certain news organization that leans that way, the independent way, and tries to make all Republicans look just as bad as Democrats. The Republicans, I can summarize something for you. Republicans are at least, even if they don't really believe in God, they were tolerant. They are tolerant of God in their vote. You can't vote Republican if you have no tolerance for God. Zero. But if there's stuff, maybe you don't like God and all this, but you found some certain issues, and then you didn't vote Republican because they want one nation under God, right? Democrats, you have a level, you have intolerance for God. You can't vote for Democrat without intolerance for God, one nation under God. So, I mean, in that sense, they might claim, oh, we believe in God, but we think he shouldn't be in politics. Any vote for Democrat Party is intolerance for God, period. So if you follow through with that pen, you're voting to put God, one nation out of you get rid of one nation under God. You're voting to get rid of in God we trust on the money, and as our motto. So I mean, that's what you're doing, bottom line. And so she's not saying she hadn't claimed she's going Democrat, but I'm saying she supported that regime in Israel, and I haven't studied other countries as much, but really it's like in some countries the Democrats are actually they're called Republicans, and they're called people who support the Republican agenda. In America, a conservative basically is called Democrat in some countries. Maybe in Europe, I forget. Maybe that's how it is in Israel, but. So she's not mixed up on that. She's a lot smarter than me at remembering those kind of things. But I mean, I remember concepts well, partly because I'm a true believer in Christ. I mean, I really believe the real thing. So I've simplified stuff. I don't have the highest IQ, but I've simplified things down to basics, and I'm able to focus on the basics and what matters most, which is ethics, and it's Christ. It's love your neighbor. It's don't steal, don't kill. It's the Ten Commandments, which are simple. Some people can read those off, and I've known them my whole life, and I can't just read them off by memory so well. But, I mean, I've learned to meditate on those more and value that more as I understand. Those are love your neighbor laws. So, but I have I've always had to study history tests 4 hours. That's my mentality. That doesn't rule me out of, but for some reason, I've had a good perception on a lot of things, not just because I simplify stuff, but that's part of it. But I have a good perception. I don't know, maybe it's a spiritual gift or something. But I just can't promote her, and I thought she was on our side. But I don't know what's going on with her, Miss Candace Owens. But I'm not going to say she's wrong. I'm not saying I trust Trump 100% on some things. But he's doing good right now, and I wouldn't want to oppose that. And I do believe in supporting Israel. I know there's a lot of corruption in Israel. I know that we're responsible for it. The people she's teaming with that are lying and acting like they're out to slaughter children and stuff, that's not their goal. That is the goal of terrorists, the terrorist groups they're fighting, and they'll slaughter their own children. They don't care. I mean, the ones that have that agenda don't care, right? And so they've had chances to evacuate. I don't know if we've opened up our country to be, I forgot what you call it. I'm just waking up, sorry. But what you call the the girl that got killed in Charlotte, the refugee, the word refugee. I don't know if, see, I'm terrible with words. The refugee is somebody who is brought here for refuge from war. So, but see, these people the terrorist groups start wars because they want refugees. They want Islamic refugees to come to America to try to contest and end Christianity. There's two opposing religions. They're not the same, like people want you to think. It's not. First of all, you got freedom of religion, not freedom of false religion. Now, nobody talks about that. But freedom of religion is so we have the freedom of speech to talk about what's the evidence. Religion is supposed to have a God. When Jesus came and rose from the dead, died on the cross, rose from the dead, he disqualified all other religions as being false, because they don't have any evidence of a second life. They don't have any proof that they are God. But Jesus brought the world the only real proof that he is God. He's the only one that's ever brought that. Prophet Muhammad didn't bring that. Buddha doesn't bring that. The Hindu gods don't bring that. No other gods, period. The concrete gods don't bring any of proof of being God. So Jesus basically disqualified anything that's not any formal worship groups that come together worshiping anything other than him are not true religions. They're all contesting. They're anti-Christ religions. So in a sense, you could call them a satanic religion. But the freedom of religion is partly given to support neighbors, loving neighbors, and anything that opposes the Bible, which defines us as one human race from God, Adam and Eve, from Noah's family after the flood, and shows that we have different ethnicities because God created different languages after we tried to get to heaven on our own power through a tower we built, right? Human beings. So, I mean, it just shows everything. It just disproves every other thing that contests it. The Bible does. So, anyway, I'm not going to keep going into that. It's just that, I hope the best I hope Candace figures it out. I hope she's just maybe overwhelmed with the pressure. Hope she doesn't continue. It seems to be hating on Trump and other people and the Republican Party now. I'm not Republican, by the way. I'm independent myself because I'm against. I do think we're dumb about drug laws. We're completely dumb, ignorant. It drives me nuts that people can't realize that coffee and tea are a real drug too. But if you make some of these street drugs into forms like coffee and tea, use the tea leaves, the natural plant medicines, it's going to be like coffee and tea. You can't drink 15 cups. There's something in there to suppress your appetite from doing that. And so when you make concentrated forms, you can easily overdose and have problems. So the pills aren't even as bad. They have caffeine pills. People can die from those. They take too many pills, you die, right? You drink too much coffee, you die. Too much green tea, you die, right? So it's the same thing with a coca leaf. Except you probably don't die as easy as you do with coffee, but you lose your mind. Not too much, but it's for depression. I think naturally, I would assume it's definitely for depression. You got marijuana leaves. We don't even talk about drinking a marijuana tea instead of, but the point about doing teas, it's probably like 2 leaves, that's all. But it's a downer. Cocaine's an upper, caffeine's an upper. So the downers are technically, there is a difference between downers and uppers. Downers are more dangerous, and they're promoting marijuana, a downer, which is kind of like alcohol. Anyway, so anyway, we don't talk about any of it. Nobody knows anything. They're dumb. They're hypochondriac, and they let the racist evolutionists run it. So I'm opposed to racist evolution, and I'm opposed to the truly racist. That's a real definition of racism. And I'm opposed to false religions, and I'm opposed to killing, murder. I'm not against self-defense, but when you have legal war, there's lots of chaos. And when these people keep waging wars, that's not America's fault. The Democrats want to wage war, create a criminal army of killers and thieves and people from cartels. And the cartels, the problem with them is they kill people, they steal from people, they poison drugs. It's a bad law. The evolutionists, in my view, Democrats created the cartels by making natural plants illegal. But the Republicans have fallen for that, and that's why I'm not Republican exactly. But I do. Democrats are the ones who started all the problem. Republicans fell for some of their tricks, is my view. But Republicans still support God. I align myself with, and I do vote. I would vote Republican when I have time. I have missed some votings, but I vote Republican over Democrat any day. And you have to choose one or the other. So you could say I'm Republican because I vote Republican. But when I'm arguing as a independent between Libertarian and Republican, not an independent between Democrat and Republican. The far right extremists supposedly that exist, according to Democrats, are not. You should be further right than the Republican Party, closer to the Libertarian Party, in my view. We should all be there, and it's not far-right extremists. It's really what Abraham Lincoln founded the United States of America on when he won the Civil War. Everybody deserves to be paid for their labor, and he put in capitalism. He helped solidify capitalism, and where we get paid for our labor instead of against slavery, where you don't get paid for your labor, right? And so there's that, and then there's the understanding of God and how God fits into our wisdom-seeking. And there's the protections against theocracy, though, which is what we escaped. The settlers escaped to come to America because they were being hung for reading the Bible. Only the Pope was allowed to read the Bible. And so there's a lot of stuff that even the Democrats push it. Of course, I say even the Democrats. The Democrats supported the regime, following people here to stop us from being free, the European regime. And they supported the slavery groups. They fought the Civil War to keep slavery. They're responsible for Jim Crow. And they always speak as if the Republicans had something to do with Jim Crow. They had something to do with ending Jim Crow. The Democrats brought us Jim Crow. All right? So they shouldn't be allowed to lie like that all the time. And lie and call people fascists, which I hardly know the definition of, but they've repeated it over and over again. So you think you're okay. If you go take out a fascist or a racist. See, the Democrats are the racists, not Republicans that support. If you're intolerant of God, you're basically a racist. Even if you claim, oh, I believe this and I'm not racist. But you're intolerant of God, well, you're okay with racism. If you're intolerant of God, you're okay with lying. So all politicians don't lie, not if they truly believe in God. They have a conscience about lying. They don't want to lie. They want real joy. You don't get real joy from lying. They actually want it within their heart and souls. They want real joy. They want honesty. I mean, come on. But if you're intolerant of God, what's wrong with lying? You only live once, right? So get everything you can out of this world. And if somebody's in your way, move them out. Kill them. So that's what they're doing. They've supported Antifa, killing people. They're the ones against freedom of speech. It is not freedom of speech. It is not imposing upon freedom of speech to stop people from talking about murder and promoting murder. Promoting murder and conspiring to murder and saying to go kill more Charlie Kirks, to go kill some more Charlie Kirks, and then not ever even rebuking that he was killed. That's their marching orders to go kill more people. That's conspiracy to murder. That's not freedom of speech. So that's not freedom of speech is freedom to it's conspiracy to murder is not freedom of speech. Come on, I'm just not going to explain it. We're at 19 minutes. All right, it's pretty obvious, right? You can summarize it into that, but I can explain it too. By the way, well, how come I don't have the freedom of speech? That's speech, isn't it? You don't have the freedom. We don't have the freedom to murder people. We don't have the freedom to do those things. We don't have the freedom to steal. We're not supposed to. But we have the freedom to steal and actually murder people by letting cartels do it. Anybody who relapses, you're allowed to kill, you're allowed to steal, you're allowed to do all that. That's everybody says by saying, well, that's what they get for going out and using drugs. Right? So instead of realizing that they're doing drugs too when they're drinking coffee and tea, and how are you going to take their property and house and everything? Let's say if you Why don't you quit drinking coffee? You go relapse on it, and they take your house and home. And so that's the trick that the Democrats played on the country, but the Republicans have fallen for that trick. So that's why I say I'm independent, but but on everything else, except for a few other illusions, I have to support the Republicans' ethics. It's the ethics, the key ethics that I support. So they've bought into that prejudice, dehumanization of addicts and people. They've bought into this compass. They get this. I would call it spiritual warfare. And so, not spiritual wickedness in high places. I view spiritual wickedness in high places as, I'm not sure exactly, but maybe a hypocrite sometimes, stuff like that. But spiritual warfare is within the Republican Party, not the Democrat Party as much. I mean, they are the warriors for negativity. The Democrat Party represents the thief that came to steal, kill, and destroy. They support stealing. They want to protect every murderer and preserve them to do more murdering. They call it mental illness. They have them faking mental illness just so they can kill more people. They do all that, and some of them fall for it. But that's not spiritual wickedness in high. That is spiritual wickedness in high places, but that's not spiritual warfare. They are. In a sense, it is, because they're on the side of the tricksters. But when I see spiritual warfare, I'm thinking there are tricky sins that people fall for and don't know it. And so we get it competitive. People who are trying to do good, they get competitive. This is an example of deception by spiritual warfare, from spiritual warfare, is that they get competitive and misinterpret the purpose of the Bible. So competition is fun. It does some good things and incentivizes us to work harder. But so you can start saying, this person didn't do this. He's not working 3 jobs. They're not working hard enough. And then you're pushing people to do everything in their own power. And they're not fasting on the Sabbath, stuff like that, which I don't either. I've never been around people that would let me do that, almost, right? I mean, I've always had too many people obligating me to other things. How do I get away from these obligations? So haven't been the most responsible person, so I've been dependent. I've had to be influenced by other people a lot of times and situations. And so I haven't been disciplined enough to regularly fast on a Sabbath, but I have done it, and it works. It actually works. So it's to help for my health and stuff. My health improves when I do fasting. I just haven't. Anyway, I'm not going to make excuses for that. I plan to be more considerate of those things in the future. It's not. I don't think it's the unpardonable sin not to do it. But back to. I sure lost my point. I can't hit pause, can I? Yeah, I can. Well, I lost my train of thought. I started self-evaluating on that and forgot my topic, or where I was, because my topic, I went into an analysis of it. But I'm just going to close out here, make a little bit of a conclusion. Israel is where Jesus lived. As far as how specific it is, whether we're supposed to protect Israel or not, as Israel welcomes our help, I think that's a good thing. If they're saying that Israel's manipulated us, so have the Democrats. I mean, and it's the liberals, but basically they've manipulated America, and the liberals are manipulating Israel just the same. And Israel's been their biggest target, probably. Even the American liberals have created what's going on in Israel, and according to what I've heard, Epstein is involved or is linked to Israel. And was running a child sex ring, from what I understand. And I don't know anything else about Epstein, and I don't take time to study all that stuff. I'm fighting my own battles most times, and I do that partly because I don't have a good memory. Why should I study all that? I study the basics. Don't remember names well. But if he's linked, I didn't know he's linked to Israel, but who would have linked him there? I mean, think about who promotes pedophilia and all that in America, and then they hypocritically pretend like they want to kill anybody they want to falsify being linked to pedophilia or whatever it is. So they do. It's the Democrats, not just liberals, but anybody who votes Democrat is supportive of drug cartels, trafficking people here for drugs, and a lot of times that involves children, maybe directly involves children. Personally, I've been in the streets, I've lived in the streets, been homeless and all that stuff because I've been robbed by cartels, right? That's what made me homeless. I've had 5 cars stolen. But anyway, I've been in the streets, and I've never much seen children involved. But until the last few years, it seems like there's a lot of young people out there. But so it's really before that, I never ran across people who quote party or whatever. I never saw children much around before until the last few years. I'll say that. So, but where do they come from? They started happening with the cartels coming across the border that promote that, and who promotes that? The Democrats. Who brings them here? The Democrats. Who says it's okay for them to come here and we don't even know who they are? The Democrats. Who's brought the Antifa, the growth here? The Democrats, through illegal immigrants. Who else have they brought here? So I didn't used to see many, I've never seen many white racists in my whole life until the last 2 years. And that's who they've brought across the border, apparently. They've empowered more white racists, more white gangsters. I haven't seen that many white gangsters until the last few years. They've been empowered by the meth gangs coming, Nazi meth gangs, and they're always calling Republicans Nazis and stuff like that. Who are the real Nazis? The Nazis, a lot of them are connected to meth gangs, Antifa, hating on Christianity, hate because they hate Jews, and they link Jews to Christianity originally. But the thing is, a lot of Jews today, it even says in the last time, Jews, a lot of them reject the fact that Christ was the Messiah. They don't believe that Christ was the real Messiah. So they're not Christian. A lot of Jews are not Christian. All right? But what's special about Israel is Jesus lived there, and Jerusalem's supposed to be the capital for ever and ever and ever. It's holy ground. It is holy ground, despite what else anybody thinks. It's holy ground because Jesus lived there. All right? And that's special. Jesus is a big deal. Jesus is God and fully man. He was fully God and fully man in the flesh by Mary. So Mary, I thought of something about Mary just yesterday, something new I considered. But she's human, and I wish I could remember that point. I'll do it in some other video. But anyhow, I'm going to go. I can't support the angle that I see Candace taking on stuff now, and I hope she's a Christian and wasn't just somebody that, some genius, some brilliant person who got involved with the good side of things. I mean, there was stuff I used to see in Candace. I used to like what Candace had to say most of the time, but I didn't like how she picks on addicts and calls out all these people victims, pretending like victimhood does not exist. Well, victimhood might be something you don't want to fall for, but she acted like there's no such thing as a victim. Charlie Kirk is a victim of being murdered, and this is stuff she used to talking about addicts and people like that. And I didn't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And there's a lot of people but I do agree with her halfway, because most of the people that victimize and kill addicts and steal from addicts and stuff like that pretend to be victims themselves. And maybe they were, and they became a player because they got tired of being rejected for jobs and everything else after they were perhaps robbed or whatever, or labeled as an addict and couldn't, and based on what the KKK, the evolutionist KKK, created. KKK burned crosses. They did not come from Christianity. That's another lie they put out there. They are evolutionists who believe that they believe in different races instead of one race like the Bible teaches, but that they think one race is more advanced than the other race in the evolutionary cycle, more progressed. And now black evolutionists think the same thing, right? They think that's why they're better at sports and everything else. And so, but there could be more to it. The yams in Africa, which being near the sun to darken your skin, near the equator, which you have natural fruits, but more vitamin D is a hormone actually, and so it helps growth hormone. And there's yams that grow in Africa. They help your growth hormone. But there's also, they did breeding for slavery a lot to breed the strongest people. That could have made them have more better athletes. Plus the yams could have. So, but that's not that much of. That's not a difference. They're still human. It's not that big of a difference. We can run almost as fast. And there's some white people who can run as fast, just about. That's the fastest. Anyway, so that's not a reason to think we're not the same, equally human. We're different because we have different ethnicities based on God changing language. That's where ethnicity came from. But we're one human race. From Noah's family after the flood is proof. That's not long ago. That disproves evolution. But I'm going to have to end now to beat 30 minutes and then finish all my points. Trust God. Jesus.